Nick. I am an addict. I'll be reading Step 4 from CDA, their basic text. Step 4. We made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Action. That's what our sponsors keep telling us. Either take positive action and move forward or sit around and be drawn backwards. Having taken the action of turning our will and our lives over to the care of God, we were ready to take the action of looking closely at ourselves. So why didn't we feel ready? Some of us look at Step 4 with dread, believing it is the fateful time when we reveal all the ugliness in our past to someone else. Others of us are so filled with self-hatred that we cannot stand to examine our lives. Some of us view this step as unnecessary since we're back to normal now that the chemicals are gone, irrelevant as our difficulties are not of our own making or awe-inspiring because it sounds like some mystical inner quest. Many of us, seemingly blind to the fact that we have shortcomings, regard Step 4 with disdain. What's the point really? Who needs it? We need it. In Steps 2 and 3 we accepted some uncomfortable truths, not only about our chemical use but also our need to heal our sick bodies, minds, and spirits from the disease of chemical dependency. If we are making excuses or otherwise avoiding Step 4, we are forgetting Step 3 and falling back into self-centered fear. We are taking our will back from our higher power, or we never turned it over in the first place, and trying to run the show again. Self-centered fear shows itself in many ways. It may be anxiety about whether our needs will be met through this process, dread of revealing our past to another, or worry that we will stir up memories that will cause us to relapse. We may tell ourselves that we cannot do the step unless we do it completely and perfectly. It is often pride which assures us that our thoughts are always good and our actions always justifiable. It is just as often self-hatred, pride in reverse, which says we have no redeeming qualities whatsoever. It may surface as anger over being told that we need to examine ourselves when we would rather catalog the harms done to us by others, thus enabling us to sink back into resentments and self-pity. It may even exhibit itself as apathy, allowing us to push away any action. What a powerful spiritual sickness, this self-centered fear. However, we now have something in our lives that is much more powerful, a God of our understanding, and the decision we made to turn our will and our lives over to the care of that God. As we renew that decision, we realize we have what it takes to move through the feelings and take action. Our inventory can be fearless because our higher power replaces our fear with faith, bringing all excuses to naught. We are taking stock of who we are, not making a record of ugly incidents. We are taking responsibility, not drowning in blame and shame. We are acting out of the love of our higher power gives us, not beating ourselves up. In the words of one CDA member, as I grew increasingly more aware in my recovery, it was around the 9-month mark, I realized that there was a pattern in my life that was the source of my troubles. Generally, it was that I never wanted to grow up and take responsibility for my life. I thought the word owed me. I thought the world owed me. I knew enough about the steps to see that it was time for a searching and fearless moral inventory. I needed to write it down to see clearly what was causing the pain in my life. I was so full of anger, hurt, and fear that I just started writing. Emotions poured onto the page. I had found a constructive outlet for my confused feelings. Taking an honest look at our feelings, attitudes, and actions is the work of Step 4. At the outset, it is important that we do not make moral judgments about our feelings. Experiencing emotion is part of being human, and emotions themselves are neither good nor bad. However, they manifest in healthy or unhealthy ways. As we recover, we let go of unhealthy, destructive attitudes and behaviors and make room for healthy, life-giving ones. It is these that we acknowledge and inventory. How do we go about it? We could waste a lot of time and energy worrying or intellectualizing about methods. We need to see that how we do it is not as important as that we do it. And we do it, as with any step, with the guidance of another recovering chemically dependent people. In particular, we need the experience, feedback, and stability of a sponsor. Trying to go it alone with Step 4 is as fruitless as our one-time efforts to stay free of chemicals without help. We remember that we have taken step 3, and we trust our higher power to work through others and give us the help we need as we answer some pretty tough questions about ourselves. Pride. Where does my pride hurt others and me? Do I believe that I am better or worse than anyone else? Do I expect myself to be perfect? Do I set perfectionist standards for others or assume that things work out best when done my way? Am I arrogant? Do I insist on handling everything on my own? Do I feel like a failure if I ask for help? Do I present a false front to the world, or perhaps a different one for each situation? Do I lie to puff up my ego? Do I secretly wallow in shame? Humility. How am I growing in humility? Do I take a realistic appraisal of my abilities and feel confident in them? Am I willing to accept my mistakes and the mistakes of others as part of being human? Do I let others see me as I really am? Do I ask for, accept, and return help? Do I offer empathy rather than criticism to those in need? Selfishness. Where does my selfishness hurt others and me? Do I constantly put my wants before the needs of others? Am I greedy or stingy with money, possessions, affection, or time? Do I insist upon having my sexual desires gratified regardless of who might get hurt in the process? Do I take people and things for granted? Am I consumed with self-pity when life is not as I wish? Do I envy those who have what I want? When my desires are not fulfilled, do I resort to immature behavior? Do I take everything personally? Caring. How am I growing in caring? Am I warm? Do I demonstrate acceptance of others and myself? Do I take responsibility for my own needs? Do I make sufficient time and effort to eat, sleep, work, play, talk, listen, pray, meditate, and get to meetings? Do I appreciate the good people and things in my life? Do I honor my friends? Do I treat my spouse or sex partner with dignity and respect? Am I grateful for recovery? Anger. Where does my misdirected anger hurt others and me? Do I rage, subjecting others or myself to physical, emotional, sexual, or verbal violence? Do I carry resentments? Do I hold grudges or seek revenge? Am I impatient when things do not go my way or intolerant of those who are different from me? Am I overly sensitive, reacting to the slightest perception of disagreement or rejection? Acceptance. How am I growing in acceptance? Am I making an effort to vent my rage without hurting anyone? Do I accept help with this from a neutral party, a sponsor, counselor, or clergy? Do I try to understand others? Am I becoming more patient and tolerant? Am I willing to wait? Am I willing to see both sides of an issue? Do I set aside my insistence on being right all the time? Am I able to stand up for myself without putting down another? Do I demonstrate compassion? Am I willing to forgive? Dishonesty. Where does my dishonesty hurt others and me? Do I lie to others or myself? Does what I gain by lying really balance out the integrity I lose? Do I persist in rationalizations, alibis, or excuses? Am I cheating or stealing? Am I lying to or cheating on my spouse or sex partner? Do I pretend that there is nothing wrong with failing to live up to my responsibilities? Honesty. How am I growing in honesty? Am I getting honest with myself? Am I making an effort to tell the truth? Do I accept responsibility for my own feelings? Do I own my attitudes? Do I accept the consequences of my actions? Do I pay my bills? Do I earn my way rather than trying to get ahead by conning and manipulating? Is my word worth something? Do I honor my commitments? Am I honest with my sex partners, especially about my history and the possibility of disease? Do I share honestly in meetings rather than trying to sound good? Fear. Where does my fear hurt others and me? Am I constantly afraid? Do I have a sense of impending doom? Do I insist on carrying around a heavy burden of guilt? Do I persist in anxiety and worry? Do I continue to think and act like a victim? Am I obsessively caught up in negative thinking? Do I isolate, fearing what others will think if they really know me? Do I procrastinate? Am I still trying to control my chemical dependency, other people, or circumstances? Trust. How am I growing in trust? Am I opening up to my higher power's will for me? Do I let other people get to know me? Do I have self-respect? Am I cultivating positive thinking? Am I willing to let go? Do I have hope? Do I take positive action in my life as I am guided to do so? Am I loving and accepting of love? It is important that we do our inventory in writing. As we answer these questions, we use examples. Often our sponsor suggests that we include a list of people and institutions that we resent. In doing so, we have the opportunity to let go of blame, examine our own emotions and attitudes, and take responsibility for our part. This brings up past incidents and actions that we need to acknowledge. We may not want to get them out, but we can look forward to the freedom of letting go of the past. The steps that follow will carry this work further, so it is good to begin it here. Also, we balance our inventory by acknowledging our strengths and our healing. If we see only the sickness, our work is incomplete. Done as morose self-punishment, step 4 could be avoided or used as an excuse to relapse. Done as honest self-appraisal, however, it can only further our recovery. Is this an uncomfortable process? Certainly. Each step requires honesty and thoroughness, and often involves pain. However, it also involves joy. With a sense of wonder, we see patterns emerge, giving us a new sense of ourselves and our responses to the world. In any case, we need not be overwhelmed. If we have worked the preceding steps, we have help that is more than sufficient. Indeed, this is one place where we can feel the interdependence of the steps. The work that we did in step 3 gives us the strength to complete step 4. At the same time, doing the 4th step is a demonstration that we are carrying out that 3rd step commitment. Indeed, each step helps us grow in our relationship with the God of our understanding. However, throughout the process of working step 4, we focus on this step without concern for the next. We are not writing for an audience, we are writing for ourselves. It is only after completing this work that we begin to think about sharing it with another. Only after we have been searching and fearless to the best of our ability are we ready to move on to step 5. Good luck.